The first sign was the smell of bleach. It was 3 a.m. on a Tuesday, and the sharp chemical odor cut through the usual night scents of our home. Lavender laundry detergent, the lemon polish from the hardwood floors. I lay in bed listening. My husband, Leo, was supposed to be on a business trip in Chicago. The floorboards in the hallway creaked under a weight that was trying to be silent. Before we get any further, you need to subscribe. And let me in the comments from where are you watching. Now, back to it. I slipped out of bed and peered through the crack in the door. The hall light was off, but the moonlight from the living room window silhouetted a figure moving quickly toward the garage. It was Leo. He was wearing dark clothes I'd never seen before, and he was carrying a heavy-looking black duffel bag. He didn't have his suitcase. He looked furtive, hunched over. This wasn't a man returning from a trip. This was a man on a mission. I heard the soft click of the garage door opening and closing. My heart hammered against my ribs. I didn't turn on any lights. I just stood there in the dark, trying to make sense of it. An hour later, I heard the garage door again. Then his footsteps. Lighter this time. He went into the guest bathroom, and I heard the shower run for a long time. The next morning, he was in the kitchen whistling, making coffee as if nothing had happened. He was dressed for work. "Hey, sleepyhead," he said a little too brightly. "I got in super late. Didn't want to wake you." "Rough flight?" I asked, pouring myself a cup of coffee. My hand was steady. I was an actress in a play I hadn't rehearsed. The worst. "Everything okay? You look tired." "Just a weird dream," I said. That was the first crack. Over the next week, the cracks widened. He was distant, preoccupied. His phone, which was usually left face up on the counter, was now permanently glued to his hip, screen down. He started taking calls in the backyard. Then the police arrived. 2 detectives, a man and a woman, stood on my porch on a rainy Thursday afternoon. They were polite, solemn. They asked if they could come in. "Of course," I said, my mouth dry. They sat on our sofa. Leo wasn't home yet. "Mrs. Grayson, we're here about a man named David Miller. Do you know him?" "David Miller, Leo's business partner." My stomach dropped. "Yes, of course. He and my husband work together. Is he okay?" The female detective, Detective Evans, looked at me with pitying eyes. "I'm sorry to inform you that Mr. Miller was found deceased last night." The world tilted. "What? How?" "We're investigating that right now," the male detective, Detective Collins, said. "His body was discovered in his apartment. The initial findings suggest foul play. Can you account for your husband's whereabouts Tuesday night into Wednesday morning? The bleach, the duffel bag, the late-night shower. He was in Chicago," I said, my voice automatic. "A business trip. He got back very late Tuesday night." "We'll need to verify that with his travel records," Collins said. "And your whereabouts, Mrs. Grayson?" "I was here, alone, asleep." They asked a few more routine questions and left, handing me a card. The moment the door closed, I leaned against it, my legs weak. This was no coincidence. I went to Leo's home office. He kept a filing cabinet with important documents, passports, tax returns. I rarely looked in it. Today I did. I found the life insurance policies. There was a new one, a massive $2 million policy on David Miller. The beneficiary wasn't David's family. It was Leo's company, of which Leo was the sole owner now. My blood ran cold. This was about money, a lot of it. But it wasn't until I went to see my sister, Chloe, that the final horrifying piece clicked into place. I went to her apartment, needing the comfort of family. She let me in, her face pale and streaked with tears. She'd heard about David. "I just can't believe it," she sobbed. "He was such a good man." I hugged her, and over her shoulder my eyes landed on her coffee table. Next to a box of tissues was a distinctive silver lighter. I'd given it to Leo for our first anniversary. It was engraved with his initials. LG, he'd told me he lost it months ago. I felt the floor drop out from under me. The late-night whispers between Leo and Chloe at family gatherings. The way he always volunteered to help her out with handyman stuff at her apartment. The way he talked about how much she reminded him of a younger, more vibrant Me. It wasn't just about the money. It was about her. My husband had killed his business partner for the insurance money, and he was having an affair with my sister. The framing? That was the next logical step. With me out of the way, convicted of murder, he gets the money, my sister, and his freedom. The detectives returned 2 days later. This time they weren't as polite. "Mrs. Grayson, we'd like you to come down to the station to answer a few more questions." At the station, in a sterile, windowless room, they laid it out for me. They had a witness who placed a woman, matching my description, arguing with David Miller outside his apartment building the night he was killed. They had credit card records showing I'd purchased a set of heavy-duty trash bags and a bottle of bleach from a store near David's apartment that same night. The receipt was time-stamped 9:14 p.m. I had been home, watching a movie. I had no alibi. And then the hammer. "We have a search warrant for your home, Mrs. Grayson. We found something in your garage." It was the black duffel bag, the one I saw Leo carrying. It was now tucked behind some old paint cans, in the exact spot where I'd seen the lockbox in my previous nightmare. Inside the duffel bag were David Miller's wallet, his phone, and a knife. The knife had traces of blood on it. My fingerprints weren't on any of it. But that didn't matter. I had access. I had motive, they said. A supposed affair with David that had turned sour. They had a narrative and I was the star. They arrested me. They charged me with the murder of David Miller. As they led me out of the station in handcuffs, I saw Leo standing by his car in the parking lot. He was watching, his face a perfect mask of grief-stricken horror. But as our eyes met for a fraction of a second, I saw it. The flicker of triumph. He thought he had won. He thought he had checkmated me. But he'd made one critical error. He'd taught me how he thinks. And in his arrogance, he'd left a trail. He just didn't know I was already following it. My only mistake was marrying him. And I was about to make him regret that, more than he could possibly imagine. The holding cell was cold, the air thick with the smell of despair and disinfectant. I sat on a hard bench, the reality of my situation settling like a shroud. My court-appointed lawyer, a harried young man named Ben, had already advised me to consider a plea deal. "The evidence is circumstantial, but it's a lot of it," he'd said, his eyes avoiding mine. "They have a strong case." I fired him on the spot. "Get me a phone," I told the guard. I had one call. I didn't call a new lawyer. I called my old college roommate, Maya. Maya wasn't a lawyer. She was a forensic accountant and a hacker, the kind of person who found truths buried in ones and zeros. Her voice was a lifeline. "Ava, my God, the news. It's not true." "I know it's not," I said, my voice low and steady. "Leo set me up. He killed David Miller for the insurance money, and he's framing me for it. He's having an affair with Chloe." There was a beat of stunned silence. Then, her professional cool snapped into place. "What do you need?" "Everything. His financials, his phone records, Chloe's records, David Miller's records. Look for a $2 million life insurance policy. Find the connection. Find the money trail. And there's a security camera at the convenience store where I supposedly bought those trash bags and bleach. Get the footage from that night." "I'm on it," she said. "I'll be your eyes on the outside." I was released on bail a week later, thanks to my parents mortgaging their house. The conditions were strict. I had to wear an ankle monitor and couldn't leave the county. I was a prisoner in my own home, which now felt like a crime scene. Leo had moved out, too distraught to stay in the house where his murderous wife lived. He was staying at a hotel, playing the grieving, betrayed husband perfectly for the media. I didn't waste a second. The moment I was alone, I went to his home office. The filing cabinet was empty. He'd cleared out everything. He was thorough. I'd give him that. But he wasn't perfect. I remembered the silver lighter at Chloe's apartment. That was a physical piece of evidence linking him to her. But I needed more. I needed the how. Maya called me that night, her voice buzzing with excitement. "I found it. The insurance policy. It's legit." And I found the first wire transfer. 2 weeks after the policy was active, $50,000 was transferred from a shell company in the Caymans to an account under the name Eleanor Ross. "Who the hell is Eleanor Ross?" I asked. "That's the best part," Maya said. I dug deeper. "It's a fake identity. The social security number is a dead child's, and the driver's license photo for Eleanor Ross. It's a Photoshop picture of you, Ava." My blood ran cold. He was creating a paper trail, making it look like I was siphoning money, giving me a financial motive. But that's not all. Maya continued. "I hacked into the city's traffic camera system. The night of the murder, Leo's car was caught on camera near David Miller's apartment at 8:52 p.m. And get this, he's not alone. There's a blurry figure in the passenger seat. I'm cleaning up the image now." Hope, sharp and dangerous, flared in my chest. "What about the convenience store footage?" "Pulled it. The woman who bought the trash bags and bleach at 9:14 p.m. was wearing a hoodie, but she walked right up to the counter. The camera got a clear shot of her face. It's not you, Ava." "Who is it?" "It's Chloe." The world stopped. "My sister. He hadn't just seduced her. He had made her an accomplice. He'd used her to buy the supplies, to be the witness who placed me at the scene. He had wrapped my sister in his web and used her to help hang me. The pieces were falling into place, but they were creating a picture more monstrous than I had imagined. I had to get proof that would stand up in court. The traffic camera footage was good, but it was circumstantial. The fake identity was strong, but a good lawyer could argue I created it myself. I needed a confession. I devised a plan. It was risky, bordering on insane, but I had nothing left to lose. I invited Leo over to the house, telling him I wanted to talk, to try and understand what went wrong. He was suspicious, but his ego couldn't resist. He came. I had hidden a voice-activated recorder in the living room. I played the part of the broken, confused wife. "Why, Leo? Why are you doing this? I loved you." He looked at me with contempt. "Love is a transaction, Ava. You stop providing value." "Value? We had a life. We had a routine. Chloe, she understands ambition. She's not content to just be a wife. And with David's money, we can start a real life together, away from all this." He was admitting to the affair, but not the murder. I needed more. "And David? What did he have to do with us?" Leo's eyes narrowed. "David was a drain, a bottleneck. The company was worth 10 times what it is with him gone. The insurance was just a bonus. It was close, but it wasn't enough. He was careful not to directly admit to the killing. Then my phone buzzed. A text from Maya. Got it. Passenger is Chloe. Clear as day. Sending to you now. I had my leverage." I looked at Leo, my expression changing from broken to cold. "It's over, Leo." He smirked. "Is it? The trial hasn't even started. I'm not talking about the trial. I'm talking about your little plan. I know about Eleanor Ross. I have the traffic camera footage of you and Chloe near David's apartment. And I just received the security footage from the convenience store. It clearly shows Chloe buying the trash bags and bleach you planted in the garage." His smirk vanished. The color drained from his face. "You're bluffing." I pulled out my phone and showed him the cleaned-up traffic camera image. Him in the driver's seat, Chloe turning to face him, her profile unmistakable. "Am I?" Panic flashed in his eyes. Real, raw panic. "You can't prove anything." "I don't have to," I said calmly. "I just have to give this to the police. They'll tear your story apart. They'll look at Chloe, and she'll crack in 5 minutes. You'll both go down for murder." He stared at me, his chest heaving. I could see the calculations spinning behind his eyes. His perfect plan was crumbling. "What do you want?" he finally whispered. "I want you to confess," I said. "You're going to call your lawyer and you're going to tell him the truth. You killed David Miller. You framed me. You manipulated my sister. You do that, and I won't release this footage to the press. I'll let the courts handle it. You refuse, and I will bury you both in a media storm so vicious you'll wish you were in prison." It was a gamble. I was offering him a slightly less horrific fate, A quiet conviction instead of a public lynching. He was silent for a long time, trapped in a cage of his own making. Finally, he nodded, a single defeated jerk of his head. "Okay," he rasped. "Okay." He pulled out his phone and called his lawyer. I listened as he spoke, his voice hollow. "Bill, it's Leo. I need you to come down to the station with me. I have to make a statement about David Miller. I killed him. I felt no triumph, only a cold, vast emptiness." He hung up and looked at me. "Happy? Get out of my house," I said. He left. I sat there, the recorder in my pocket containing his confession. I had won. I had turned his own game against him. But as I listened to the silence of the house, I knew it wasn't over. He had confessed to the murder, but he would try to drag Chloe down with him. And the law had its own process. My husband tried to frame me for murder. He thought he was a master manipulator. He forgot that the quietest mouse knows the layout of the trap better than the one who set it. Leo's confession was like a depth charge exploding in the middle of the case. The news cycle, which had been feasting on the Black Widow narrative, choked on it and violently reversed course. Headlines now screamed, "Husband confesses to framing wife." My face was everywhere again, but this time as the wronged victim, the resilient survivor. The district attorney, looking deeply embarrassed, dropped all charges against me with a swiftness that was almost comical. The ankle monitor was removed. I was free, but freedom was a relative term. I was now at the center of a different kind of storm. Leo, upon the advice of his new high-priced criminal lawyer, immediately tried to recant his confession. He claimed I had coerced him, that I had threatened him and Chloe. He said he was in a state of extreme emotional distress. It was a pathetic, flailing move, but it worked enough to create reasonable doubt for Chloe. The case against her became murky. The convenience store footage showed her buying the supplies, but Leo's confession, now disputed, claimed he had asked her to buy them for a camping trip, and she had no knowledge of his plans. It was a flimsy story, but with Leo refusing to testify against her, and no direct evidence linking her to the murder itself, the DA decided not to press charges. She was released a free woman, though the court of public opinion had already convicted her. She showed up at my door the day she was released. She looked haggard, a ghost of my vibrant younger sister. "Ava, please," she begged, tears streaming down her face. "You have to believe me. I didn't know. I thought I loved him. He told me you were cold, that your marriage was over. He said you were having an affair with David. He said we needed the money to start a new life, away from all the drama. I thought the bleach and bags were for a trip he was planning for us. I had no idea he was going to do that." I looked at her, this stranger who shared my blood. I saw the manipulation in her eyes, but I also saw the genuine terror and regret. Leo had played us both, but she had been a willing pawn until the moment she realized the game was murder. "I believe that you're sorry," I said, my voice cold and flat. "I believe you're sorry you got caught, but you stood by while he destroyed my life. You helped him. You looked me in the eye and comforted me while you knew I was being framed for a murder you helped set up. Get off my porch, Chloe. Don't ever contact me again." The devastation on her face was real, but so was my resolve. Some betrayals are terminal. With my name cleared, I turned my attention to the civil matters. I filed for divorce. I also sued Leo for wrongful prosecution, intentional infliction of emotional distress, and every other tort my lawyer could think of. The life insurance money from David Miller was frozen by the courts and would eventually be returned to David's family. Leo's company, built on that blood money, collapsed. He was in jail, awaiting trial for the murder of David Miller. The case against him was strong, even with his recanted confession. The physical evidence, the duffel bag in our garage, the financial records of the fake Eleanor Ross account, the traffic camera footage, painted a damning picture. Maya's digital sleuthing had provided the prosecution with an avalanche of evidence. I visited him once, in the county jail. I wanted to look him in the eye one last time. He was led into the visitation room in an orange jumpsuit, his hands cuffed. The arrogance was gone, replaced by a sullen, cornered animal resentment. "Come to gloat?" he sneered. "No," I said calmly. "I came to give you some news. The divorce is final. I got everything. The house, the remaining savings, everything. I'm selling it all." His eyes flashed with hatred. "Oh, you bitch." "And I spoke to the DA," I continued unfazed. "They're not offering a plea deal. They're going for first-degree murder. They have the fake identity, the financial motive, the traffic footage with Chloe, and the testimony from the security guard at David's building, who now remembers seeing a man matching your description. They're going to throw the entire library at you, Leo. You're going to spend the rest of your life in a concrete box." He lunged forward against the table, the chains on his cuffs rattling. "You did this. You ruined everything. I didn't pull the trigger, Leo. I didn't take out the insurance policy. I didn't sleep with my wife's sister. You did this to yourself. You were so busy building a trap for me. You didn't notice you were standing in the middle of it." I stood up to leave. "This isn't over," he screamed after me. "I'll appeal. I'll get out." I paused at the door and looked back at him. This pathetic, broken man in his cage. "No, Leo," I said, my voice barely a whisper. "It's over. You tried to have me convicted of a murder you committed. You wanted to trade my life for money and a future with my sister." I gave him a small, cold smile. "So I let you have the future you earned. A life sentence." I walked out, leaving his screams echoing in the sterile hallway. The door clanged shut behind me. A final metallic period at the end of our story. My husband tried to frame me for murder. He thought he was the puppet master. But in the end, I was the one who held the scissors. And I cut all his strings. The trial was a formality, a spectacle. Leo's defense was a desperate, rambling mess, trying to pin the blame on a shadowy, real killer, and claiming I was a master manipulator who had driven him to a mental breakdown. The jury didn't buy it. They deliberated for less than 6 hours before returning with a verdict. Guilty of murder in the first degree. The judge sentenced him to life in prison without the possibility of parole. I sat in the front row of the courtroom, my back straight as the sentence was read. I felt nothing. No joy, no relief, no sadness. It was just an outcome. The logical conclusion of a series of terrible choices he had made. After the trial, I sold the house. I couldn't live in a place that held so many ghosts, so many lies. I moved to a new city, a small coastal town where no one knew my name or my story. I started a small online business, something that required minimal human interaction. I was healing, but I was a different person. The trusting, optimistic woman I had been was gone, replaced by someone quieter, sharper, more self-reliant. About a year after the move, a package arrived at my new doorstep. It was a plain brown cardboard box with no return address. My heart hammered with a familiar cold dread. I wasn't ready for another twist. I opened it carefully. Inside, nestled in bubble wrap, was a book. It was the first edition of my favorite novel, Rebecca by Daphne du Maurier. There was a note tucked inside the cover. "Ava, I know I have no right to write to you. I know you may just throw this away, and I would deserve that. I'm in a program now. Therapy. I'm finally understanding the depth of the manipulation I was under, and the even greater depth of the harm I caused you. There is no excuse for what I did. My blindness, my selfishness, my weakness. They are not excuses. They are my crimes against you, and I will carry the guilt for them for the rest of my life. Leo lied to me from the very beginning. He told me you were abusive. He told me you were stealing from the company. He showed me fake text messages and emails. He created an entire fictional world where he was the victim, and you were the villain. And I, desperate for love and validation, chose to believe it. I wanted to be his savior. I was a fool. Buying those items for him was the ultimate act of my stupidity. I truly believed it was for a camping trip. When I found out the truth, after your arrest, I was paralyzed with fear and shame. I thought if I came forward, I'd go to jail too. So I said nothing. I let you suffer. That is my greatest shame. I am not asking for your forgiveness. I don't deserve it. I am only writing to tell you that I am sorry, from the bottom of my soul, and to tell you that you were right to do what you did. You saved yourself when no one else would. You were stronger than I could ever hope to be. I hope you have found some peace. Chloe, I held the letter, my hands trembling. The words felt true. They didn't absolve her, but they explained the inexplicable. The power a narcissist like Leo could wield over a vulnerable person was a terrifying thing. He hadn't just seduced her, he had brainwashed her. I didn't write back. I didn't know what to say. The wound was too deep, the scar tissue too thick. But I didn't throw the letter away. I put it in the book and placed the book on my shelf. It was a part of my history, a dark chapter I could neither erase nor fully close. Life went on. The sharp edges of the pain slowly softened into a dull, manageable ache. I made a few casual friends in my new town. I went for long walks on the beach. I learned to sleep through the night again. Then one day, I got an email from an unknown address. The subject line was, "He's dead." It was from a fellow inmate. The email was short, brutal, and to the point. Leo had been killed in a prison fight, stabbed multiple times. He had been dead before the guards even reached him. I sat at my computer, the words blurring on the screen. I felt a final quiet click, like the last tumbler in a lock falling into place. There was no sadness. There was no victory. There was only an ending. The universe, in its own chaotic and violent way, had delivered its own sentence. My husband tried to frame me for murder because he wanted my money, and my sister. He constructed an elaborate web of lies, believing himself to be the spider at the center. But webs are fragile things. They can be torn apart from the inside. I didn't destroy him. I simply stopped protecting him from the consequences of his own actions. I stepped aside and let the weight of his own crimes crush him. He went to prison for his